and welcome to another episode of Conversation with the Chef. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the land where half of my conversation took place today, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I would also like to acknowledge the Ngāi tribe who made their home in Te Waiponamu, or the South Island of New Zealand, 800 years ago before it was colonised by the British. Today I'm talking to Huw Kinch, Winemaker and Estate Manager at Pyramid Valley, a biodynamic winery in beautiful Waikari, North Canterbury in the South Island of New Zealand. I usually speak to chefs, but I'm doing a series of special edition features showcasing New Zealand suppliers and producers to celebrate the launch of New Zealand Trade and Enterprises 2022 Made with Care campaign in Australia. A global initiative designed to raise awareness of New Zealand's superlative produce, Made with Care shines a light on thoughtfully created and ethically manufactured food and beverages the country is famous for. New Zealand is recognised all over the world for its commitment to creating environmentally conscious, sustainably minded food and wine. The Made with Care initiative reinforces values unique to New Zealand's food and beverage industry. Pyramid Valley has been a labour of love for two partnerships, Mike and Claudia Elze Weersing, followed by Steve Smith, Master of Wine, and investor and wildlife conservationist Brian Sheth. This is not a sponsored or remunerated post, but when I was asked if I was interested in something a little adjacent to Conversation with a Chef, and I read about the campaign, I jumped at the chance. I first became aware of Pyramid Valley wines about 13 years ago when I went to a tasting and Mike Weersing spoke. It was one of the most memorable events I've ever been to. Mike spoke about his wines and his global journey to find the perfect place to make them with a passion that was palpable, and everyone in the room was hanging off his every word. The wines of Pyramid Valley are born in the dramatic limestone and clay-derived soils of North Canterbury, a unique high-altitude site that is home to some of the most profound Pinot Noir and Chardonnay wines in the world. Grown biodynamically and following natural principles in its winemaking with the use of indigenous yeasts, natural fining and minimal, if any, filtration. I really enjoyed talking to Huw Kinch, and I know you'll enjoy listening to this conversation. Hi Huw, it's Jo Ritty here. How are you?
Oh, good, Jo. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. I'm calling from Melbourne, but where are you?
I'm in North Canterbury, just about an hour north of Christchurch, near a small town called Waikari.
Yep. And what's the weather doing there today?
It's getting dark now, but and cold. But we had a beautiful sunny blue sky day. It was about a high of about 14, 15.
Very high. It doesn't sound that high to me. I'm out of practice. I'm from Christchurch originally, but I've lived in Melbourne for 11 years, so I've got a very special place in my heart for Christchurch and for Canterbury.
Oh, nice.
So I was looking over your background. What is your role at Pyramid Valley?
So I'm the winemaker and estate manager. So I look after the property in Waikari and look after all the winemaking for Pyramid Valley. So live on site at the vineyards with my family and kind of caretaker of the property. My background's kind of winemaking.
Yeah. And I see you're at Charles Sturt's.
I do the opposite thing of you.
Yes.
I grew up in Australia and came to New Zealand. First came in about 2007, so I guess nearly 15 years, something like that. Over New Zealand.
Yeah. And I see too, I'm a French teacher as well as a food writer, and I see you spent some time in France, which seems like the best thing to do if you're a winemaker, in Roussillon. I lived just out of Avignon for a year, so I love the area around there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world. I lived in a little town in the Durban Courberies, kind of just near Carcassonne, between Carcassonne and Perpignan in the hills.
Yeah. And I mean,
just for 3 months, but my French isn't very good. I probably need some French lessons.
But you managed to get by on wine language, I suppose.
Yeah. The language of wine, and no, it was good. I had about a 2-3 month notice before I went, had some French lessons with a colleague that was working in the winery in Hawke's Bay, and away I went, and it was baptism by fire, but that was good. And there was an old guy working, who lived at one of the wineries I worked at. I worked at two wineries. One in Moree was like basically a winery in the garage of the family property, and the father lived above the winery, and he was like 80 something and didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't speak much French, and we just communicated by chalk on concrete tanks.
Yeah.
And got by.
How long were you there?
Oh, just 3 months or 2 months. Probably.
Yeah.
3 months. Yeah, just for the harvest period.
Nice. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it must be different in each country, in each wine region as well.
Yeah, definitely different challenges, all to do with the weather and the climate and what I guess that's the thing what the old world's discovered over generations is what works well with their climate and what grows, what varieties grow well. But I guess now with climate change, they've got more challenges, or challenging the norm about what actually works. But no, it's good. But a cultural experience as well. It's good. It's good food, good wine. And it's just in France, or back then in '07, I'm sure it's probably still the same. That you go to the supermarket and just buy some food and wine and relatively cheap, and it's always of pretty high quality.
Yeah, I miss that as well.
Yeah.
And how long have you been at Pyramid Valley?
So we moved down in winter of 2018. So Mike and Claudia sold the property to Brian and Steve in kind of spring of 2017. Stayed on for that growing season, and then they kind of left the property in the winter of 18, and we took over to me managing the property. And
how big is that property?
It's about 80 hectare property, but the vines, the original planting is only 2.25 hectares, but super high density, so 22,000 vines in that original 2.2 hectares.
Wow. And
then in the last kind of 3 years, or 3.5 years, 4 years, we planted another 4.6 hectares. So we're up to 60,000 vines now, over about 6.8 hectares.
Wow, okay.
So not a huge area, but a lot of vines, very intense.
And you have vineyards in Central Otago as well?
Yeah. So what Brian and Steve also, not long after buying Pyramid Valley, bought property in Lowburn, the old Lowburn Ferry vineyard, and we planted more of that as well. We originally, again, that vineyard was about maybe 3 hectares, just of normal spacing, kind of 2,500 vines a hectare. But we planted about another 7 or 8 hectares of high density Pinot Noir and Chardonnay there, at kind of 8 to 9,000 vines a hectare. So that's happened from in the same time frame as here, from pretty much 18 through to 2020 was the planting year, so over 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's a really kind of pretty special property, and it was bought on soil, just like Pyramid Valley. The purchase was all about the soil beneath us, and Pyramid in Waikari's clay limestone soil that Mike Weersing searched for 10 plus years to plant Pinot and Chardonnay on that kind of soil type in the New World, basically to try and bring a new voice to the world of wine. And it was very much committed to that soil type, because that's the types of soil that he'd worked in Burgundy with.
Yes.
And then the property in Central is a more like a clay lime soil over pedogenic lime, but it's quite an interesting property because it's got a lot more organic matter than most vineyards in Central Otago. It's up to about 8% organic matter, and it's been farmed for 150 years. And the health of the soil is a reflection of the human interaction with the place in a positive way. Because it used to be a market garden for the Chinese gold miners, and they irrigated it and built organic matter on that site versus degrading it, which I think is a pretty powerful kind of message or story.
Absolutely.
Humans can be a positive influence on the land instead of a negative.
Exactly. I met Mike a long time ago, and I went to a tasting that he was doing in Christchurch, and it was paired, the flights of wine were paired with food from, I can't actually remember the name of it now, Mediterranean something.
Oh, yeah, Mediterranean Food Company.
Yeah, and it was, I remember paying something like $30, and there were 5 flights of wine and this amazing food. But listening to Mike, I would have paid hundreds of dollars, because the way that he talked about his journey and, going to different places around the world and putting handfuls of soil in his pocket and then, sending them off to Burgundy or Bordeaux or wherever he was. Burgundy. Yeah. And then, his biodynamic philosophy and so on as well. It was like listening to poetry. It was one of the best things I've ever been to.
He's an amazing kind of person and such an inspiration, and he could communicate his passion so well. It was. I remember going to a workshop in Hanna Springs. I went not long after I came to the country in 2010, and there's a Pinot workshop there every year, barrel samples. If everyone brings a barrel sample, and this guy stood up and started talking, and the whole room was just just captivated with what he had to say, and that was Mike Weersing. It was kind of So it's a bit kind of surreal sometimes, thinking that you're kind of looking after the property that he founded, or the vineyard that he founded. So
And then lucky to find another property with equally great soil and location and so on as well. That's amazing. I mean, not that sort of carrying on his legacy a bit there, even though it was the new owners that found that. But I'm sort of interested in the biodynamic and environmental aspects as well of Pyramid Valley. So what grapes do you have in where you are now?
What grapes, sorry?
Yeah, so you've got Chardonnay and Pinot.
Just Chardonnay and Pinot Noir planted on the Waikari property.
Yes.
In the same in Central Otago. But the property in Waikari, Mike's plantings are originally 3/4 Pinot Noir, 1/4 Chardonnay.
Yes.
Now the plantings on this property, with the young vines, is 3/4 Chardonnay, 1/4 Pinot Noir.
Mm.
And then the majority of the plantings in Central Otago are Pinot, and maybe only 10 or 15% Chardonnay.
Mm. I really love Central Otago Pinots. I just think when I've been to a thing called a Pinot Palooza here in Melbourne, and and there'll be all the different states of Australia on one side of the room, and then Tasmania and New Zealand on the other. And I think our Pinots are just so distinctly different to, I say our, meaning New Zealand Pinots are so different to Australian ones. But I guess they must be, are they closer to the French style, or what is it about our Pinots?
I think New Zealand as a place to grow anything has the amazing intensity of flavour and just like a freshness to the food. And I think it's to do with the high UV, high sunlight hours, and good amount of water and good amount of heat, but not too hot. And I think those combinations with that high UV, there's a power or concentration to the flavours, but the flavours are very fresh.
Mm.
In Central Otago, out of all the regions, it's probably got one of the shortest growing seasons, but during that growing season, it has the longest day length.
Mm.
So the sunlight down there the sun doesn't go down till probably 10 o'clock at night in the middle of summer. So, and then back up, early 6 or, first thing. And so it's a very condensed ripening period and a lot of sun, and then the growing season starts probably a couple of weeks after us in Canterbury, and it'll finish earlier than the Waikari property. So yeah.
And
I think it's just, I think New Zealand, obviously wine in general has been influenced by the old world because everyone's worked over there, but I think everyone wants to show their place through just, good farming and then in the winery just sensitive kind of handling, and hopefully, reflect the, the beauty of the places that we work with.
Well, they talk, I suppose, that whole terroir thing from the old world is, it's about reflecting where it's from rather than reflecting the features of the label, isn't it? Rather than saying, oh, this tastes like a really great savvy or whatever, like it's actually about, where it's from, which is a nice idea.
Yeah, and the varieties, the secondary, like the varieties, that variety, because that variety grows well there. And then, then it's down to the reflection of that place. And I think that, that, and to reflect that place as best as you can, I think it's about respecting that place and looking after it. And that's where kind of biodynamics comes in, and regenerative kind of farming, that you're, you're looking after the land, the soil that you're farming, and that it all builds up from there. If you've got good soil health, then you're going to have good vine health, and then you're going to have good fruit health, and then you're going to have good wines, or whatever. It doesn't matter what you're growing. You could be growing potatoes, or broccoli, or anything really. But it comes down to what you're growing it in, and if you're growing it in something that's diverse and healthy and resilient, then what you're going to grow is going to grow better and healthier, and be a better product or produce. If you're growing it in something that's kind of inert and you're just having to feed lots of fertilizers and chemicals in it, then it's not going to, what you're growing is not going to be as resilient because the soil isn't resilient.
And the biodynamic aspect is that I sort of don't really know that much about. It's about planting at a certain time and also the way you look after the plants.
Yeah, it's about I think the number one thing for me, it's about observation. And so like biodynamic farming isn't like, you can't just grab a book and just put it there. You kind of get how everything interacts within that place. So it's about observing and trying different things, and getting, making everything. It's a holistic approach. Everything's interconnected. So to me, it's about just observation and sensitive farming, and your observation of the moon cycle and when the right time to do certain things are, and what Nick Paulin, who's our kind of chief vine gardener, who's based in the Central Otago property, but we work closely. He comes up here quite a bit as well, and he's brought a lot of cover crops in, and he's got about a 27 species cover crop that we plant each autumn in every second row, and it's just about trying to bring more biodiversity into the soil, so more different plants with different roots, so microbes under the in the soil are more abundant, and then above ground there's more plants, so there's more diversity for the different insects and everything living there. And he's done a really interesting experiment down in Central with kind of trying to show how that diversity can help the microbes in the soil. So he planted, or he buried two pairs of cotton undies, one pair in a cover crop row where he's got the 27 different species, and another pair in just a grass row where it's just pretty much just a grass pasture, and buried them for about a month, and then dug them up, and then looked at how many holes are in the cotton, and the undies in the cotton that's in the cover crop row degraded a lot more than what was under the grass row.
I love the science of that.
So it's trying to show that like how this diversity really actually matters to what's beneath us.
Of course. Right, and And what does it mean for Pyramid Valley to be part of the Made with Care campaign?
Yeah, well, I think that it's really cool kind of situation, and we're happy to be part of that like-minded kind of approach, and I think I guess it's opening to a whole group of people that obviously have a passion for where their food comes from and the story behind it, and that it's not just coming, from a factory or something. There's that whole story behind it, and that's I think that's the thing that's really good to be part of that community. And I haven't really. Nat's been doing most of it, who's our brand manager, so I'm kind of a bit green, just finding out about it now. But to me, it's about, I guess, it's a community just like biodynamics, or, to me it's that idea that people care about where their food comes from, where their wine comes from, and that the people that are growing it are looking after that bit of land so it's in a better place for the next generation to come. I think that's, for me personally, why be part of any kind of thing that's promoting that is great.
Yeah. I felt so proud as a New Zealander reading through that booklet and thinking that, it is showcasing those products and suppliers to Australia. And it's amazing how much there's always been greatness going on in New Zealand, or at least in the last couple of decades. So it's great. Yeah, I think it is really good to shine a light on those for sure.
Yeah, I think we're over in Australia later this year, so it'll be good to see that kind of in action and how it's all kind of working over there.
Yeah, that's right. So, I'll be looking out for some bottles of Pyramid Valley.
Yeah, cool.
Look, thanks, Huw, so much for your time, and I'm sure you've got things to be getting on with, but I really appreciate how much you've shared with me, and all the best.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Cheers. And same with you.
Thank you.
Hopefully catch up in Australia.
I hope so.
Christchurch.
Okay.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Huw Kinch from Pyramid Valley in Aotearoa, New Zealand. If you want to experience all the greatness for yourself, which of course you do, you can check out Pyramid Valley Vineyards on Instagram at Pyramid Valley Vineyards, all one word, for some epic scenery and photos of very beautiful looking wine. And the Made with Care campaign on at discovernew.nz. As for me, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef, and if you want to read the chat, you can head to www.conversationwithachef.com. Of course. I would absolutely love it if you told a friend about my chats, and of course you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Once again, thanks for listening and have a great day.